Hi, Mamta ma'am. This is me, Nadia, from ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. We guide cancer patients on adopting an integrative oncological treatment approach. We help them find the balance between medical treatment and complementary treatment approaches. We help patients with a team of oncologists, lab experts, nutritionists, and other healthcare professionals. So the overall outcome of the treatment for the patient is at its best, right? And as part of this awareness, we try to connect cancer warriors and cancer survivors like yourself here today. Connecting them brings together the entire community. Questions are answered, information is passed, awareness is spread, and overall motivation and positivity is lured to everyone. So today we have Mamta ma'am here, who is here to share her inspirational journey. I can't wait to hear her myself. I'm pretty sure the viewers out there are waiting to listen to her. Over to you, ma'am. Take it forward from here. Here's your story to tell the world, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm Mamta Goenka. Um, I've had breast cancer 3 times in my life. My first journey with cancer started in the year 1998. I had just turned 40 at that time. Cancer came to my right breast. I was operated upon at Tata Memorial Hospital. A lumpectomy was done with axillary clearance. Post that, I went through chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Took about 6 months for the journey to finish, and I was good to go again. Then again in 2001, cancer knocked one more time at my door. This time I had cancer to my left breast, and again went through the same process of going through surgery, going through chemotherapy, and going through radiotherapy. During my journey, what I realized was that women in India need a lot of hand-holding. I fortunately came from a very affluent background. So I had access to many things. I had access to the doctors. I had access to other information that I needed. So in between my first and my second journey, I had kind of decided in my mind that this is what I would like to do once I get better. Because women in our society, I'm talking about 20 years ago, where there was not even Google to search for answers. So they were very ignorant. They didn't know what was happening to them. Even sitting in a cancer hospital like Tata Hospital, they were ignorant that they have come here for cancer treatment. They would think that they have some lump in their body and the doctor is going to remove it and they'll be good to go. So I started hand-holding patients right from my own journey. I would talk to my fellow patients as I would wait my turn for chemotherapy and radiotherapy. I could impart what I at least knew at that point in time. So that's how my caregiving to the cancer patients started. Having said that, I've gotten treated myself at Tata Hospital all 3 times. And Tata Hospital is a place where we get patients from across India and from the remotest villages possible. So these are the patients who really need your help. These are the patients who do not understand things. These are the patients who would want to, they cannot approach doctors as we can approach them. So most of the times, their questions are not answered. So this is the kind of population strata that comes to Tata. And I decided that this is what I'm going to do if God permits me to do that. Why I say this is because I already had cancer twice. So not that I'm fearful of the disease, no. But there comes a question mark in your head. So I think God has chosen me to serve, because in 2017, again, cancer came knocking after 16 years. And it again came to my right breast. Again went through, so this time they did a mastectomy where my entire breast was removed. And since the entire breast was removed, there was no radiation given, but I still went through chemotherapy. And I'm on hormonal treatment right now. Yes. So in these 2 decades, I have established myself at Tata Hospital. I'm not part of any NGO. I do things in my own capacity. We have other teams.
We have like 5-6 volunteers who do we do our job at Tata. So what we have come up with is post-operative breast cancer sessions. So at every patient who gets operated at Tata Memorial Hospital for breast cancer goes home.
Can you hear me?
Ma'am? Right, ma'am, you were saying?
Okay. So I started my work at Tata Memorial Hospital. So what we do is hold post-operative sessions for breast cancer patients. Because our patients get operated and they go home the very next day. Unlike private setups where patients are kept for 3, 4, 5 days, our patients go home the next day unless there's something majorly wrong with the patient. Or if the patient has gone through some kind of plastic surgery or something, only then they are retained. Otherwise, our patients go home the next day. So when I went home after my surgery, I thought that enough information. So as I got better and I learned a little more, I realized that we should impart some kind of education to our patients and send them home with a healthy mind. It's very important for the patients to go home with a healthy mind. So our post-operative sessions are held with the aim of sending our patients home with a healthy mind. So what we do in our sessions is we give them complete information. They go home with their sutures. They go home with their drain tube attached to them. They need to understand how do they take care of their sutures, how do they take care of the drain tube. So that is the first part of our session, taking care of their drain tube and the sutures. The second part is taking care of their arm, because I'm sure most of you know that when any breast cancer surgery happens, axilla is also operated upon. And because the axilla is operated upon, the arm really hurts. And there are a lot of do's and don'ts for the arm, because if the patients do not follow those do's and don'ts, they might get into a condition called lymphedema, which is swelling of the hand. Because that happens because the axillary nodes are removed, and so the lymphatic system is now compromised. So patients need to understand that they need to take care of the affected arm, the operated arm, their lifetime. So second part of our post-operative session mainly talks about arm care. The third part, we teach them arm exercises. It is very important for these patients to start doing their arm exercises the first post-operative day. If you do not lift your hand, if you do not use your hand, start using your hand the first post-operative day, many patients tend to develop frozen shoulders, and those are way more painful than your actual surgery. So we teach them arm exercises. So these are the 3 main parts that we talk about in terms of medical things that we give out. So before starting our session, like when I'm holding a post-operative session, I try and establish a connect with my patients, because we do this in a group session. So all patients operated the previous day are brought to the physiotherapy department, and we give them a group session, because it's a great amount of psychological healing for the patient. When the patient sees some other woman sitting there who's been through the same surgery, it motivates her. They motivate each other. They think that, oh, I'm not alone in this boat. So many people are also riding with me. So it's a great amount of psychological healing and that's the reason we do group group counseling. So if I'm holding a post-operative session, the first 15-20 minutes, I just spend on connecting with my patients, because it's very important to connect with them. If I don't connect with them, I could be saying what I want to say and they would not be there. So
Right.
I need to understand where they're coming from. I need to establish my connect. And I want to tell them that I am a role model for them. If I could fight this disease and stand here tall and straight and talk to them today, they definitely can. And so it's not the end of the world. It's not, and I like to emphasize to these patients that this is their diagnosis. It's not a death certificate. This is only a diagnosis. When cancer diagnosis happens, generally people think it's a death certificate. It's a death sentence. It is not a death sentence. It is your diagnosis, right? So we need to instill that hope in them. We need to instill that faith in them that if I could do it, you certainly can. So if I stand there as a role model and talk to them and try and convince them, it helps, because I'm not talking up in the air. If they know that this woman has been through this journey, if a lay person would stand in front of them and say, "Hey, honey, you know what? I understand," they would not get it. They would say, "You don't know," because you really don't know. Right? So when I tell them that, yes, I know what chemotherapy is all about, I know what chemotherapy is all about, right? So 15-20 minutes, I try and establish my connect. I try and motivate them. I try and give them a healthy mind. And then I give out all the medical information. And then we also talk about stuff like body images. The body image is distorted post breast cancer surgery. If this patient has gone through mastectomy and she's not gone through a plastic surgery yet. So we do talk about prosthesis. We show them different samples of prosthesis, tell them where they can procure them, the price range, show them, various bras that can be fitted to them. So we talk about prosthesis. We talk about wigs. We give them numbers of wig makers, because invariably if these patients are going to go through chemotherapy, they're going to lose their hair and they might want to procure a wig. So we give out information on that. We also give out a lot of handouts. So whatever we talk, we also give them everything in writing, because they would have listened to it, but they might not remember everything. So we give them handouts for them to go home and read everything that we have told them. So this is our post-operative session. Very recently at Tata Hospital, we had also started pre-operative counseling, because again, we realized that these patients who are going into surgery, again, have no clue. They have no clue as to why am I not taken first for surgery, or why is that woman taken first and we both have breast cancer, or why would I have to go through mastectomy, or why did doctor tell me that it would be a lumpectomy, and when I woke up I realized that they had done a mastectomy on me. So we give them behind the scenes of what is going on. So recently we had started that, and because of this COVID, we had started 6 months before COVID, and the pre-operative sessions were also doing very well, because we would guide them from the time they entered our hospital till they meet us again in the post-operative session. So everything that they're going to go through is told to them, so that there's no anxiety in their minds. There's no anxiety in the family members' minds. Right? Because when we hold these sessions, we also have a caregiver sit there, some family member with the patient. So the patient is not alone. All the information that we give out is given out to the patient and the caregiver. Right? So the pre-operative sessions, we would try and resume them soon. I don't know how soon we'll be able to do that. But yeah, so these are the two types of sessions that we hold at Tata Hospital. And been doing it for good almost 2 decades now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I must really applaud you. I am really honored to even be sitting here and talking to someone like you. Like
it's
you just said, it's me on the other side. I haven't gone through breast cancer, so I can only imagine. I can never say I understand, right?
Right.
So I can only imagine what you must have gone through and how beautiful it is. How beautiful it is to see what you've gone through. You've changed it, made it something so positive. I must really applaud you.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
really.
No, it's just that our body has this inherent capacity to heal by itself.
Yes, yes.
You
Very
know,
true.
people do not realize that. People also do not realize, patients do not realize that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always light, you know. So, when if the doctor tells me that, Mamta, this is your diagnosis and this is your treatment, I'm good, right? But someday, if the doctor tells me that this is your diagnosis and we do not have treatment for you, then I might get jitters. But as long as any disease has treatment for me, I should not be shattered, right? So I somehow look at this whole game as a mind game. It's really a mind game. The power of a subconscious mind, it's so huge. So you try and feed what the outcome you want, right?
Yes.
So if you keep feeding positivity, if you keep feeding that, oh, I'm okay, I'm going to be okay, there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and tough times never last, but tough people do. And if I
Yes.
keep feeding such positive things in my subconscious mind, you can say the outcome is same as what you have put in your subconscious mind. So I strongly believe in the power of subconscious mind.
That is so true. So well said, ma'am. I really, like I said before, it is a huge honor for me. And
Thank you.
it is a great thing what you just said, the power of the subconscious mind. None of us really know that power. Very few people
Yeah.
are able to access that power. It lies
Yeah.
within all of us, I believe.
The inner strength is there. You just need to recognize that.
Yeah.
We just want to give up. We just want to give up.
Right.
If we realize the power of our inner strength that God has given us, it is humongous. It is huge. We can heal anything we want.
Definitely, ma'am. So coming to your story when it comes to your treatment, ma'am, your chemotherapy, I know you've gone through it 3 times, and even still, you are not afraid. You're like
This is my new beautiful hair.
amazing. It's so beautiful, ma'am. Like it's just there's so much of radiation coming through to you. You know, it is just your face is radiating that positivity and happiness, and the way you showed off your hair itself is so beautiful.
Yeah.
The thing is, when it comes to treatment, ma'am, did you face any hurdles? I know it's a very harsh treatment. You've gone through it 3 times, and as someone who's gone through it so many times, you are at a level where you can say, bring it on. Like, let anything come to me. I am ready.
In a way, you're right. Yes, I'm head on with anything that comes my way. No hurdles as such in terms of treatment. Yes, chemotherapy is harsh. Chemotherapy is difficult. But again, if you know that this is your disease and this is your treatment, I mean, you got to go through it, right? So you look at it differently. You look at it that this journey would make me better. This journey of chemotherapy is going to make me better. So if that is your thought process, chemotherapy, yes, has certain side effects. Some of them are quite bearable, some of them are not. But then chemotherapy, when you're going through chemotherapy, there are drugs to combat your side effects also. It's not like you start throwing up and doctors are like, okay with that. You will be giving anti-vomiting. If you have diarrhea, if you have fever, all the side effects are taken care of. So it's not like you suffer for days. You suffer for the initial 2-3 days and then you're back to normal again. You're ready for your next cycle of chemotherapy. So I could not say that I had faced any hurdles in my treatment, but yes, it is somewhat of a rough path.
Yes, ma'am. I can understand. And also, when it comes to your family, How did you disclose this information to them and how did they react?
See, when I first got diagnosed, I had just turned 40, as I said. My son was 9 years old and my daughter was 12. And they weren't that small not to understand anything, and they weren't big enough to understand everything, right? So they were at that mid-age. So I did make them sit down and then make them understand that yes, your mother has cancer, but it is not like in Hindi movies that someone gets cancer and someone dies. So I promise you guys that I'll see you guys grow up. And today, my son is 32 and my daughter is 35. So I did see them grow up, right? I did keep my promise.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I didn't want my kids to hear from a third party or hear phone conversations and gather information. I would rather make them sit down and make what has happened to me and just bear with me. It's going to be a little tough. I might not be able to cook the best food for you. I might be able to take up schoolwork or something. Bear with me and I'll sail through.
Right, ma'am. That is so true. Also, when it comes to your age, you got it, you said you got it the second time. What age and what stage was it second, third time? Like in the order of first, second, third?
You're talking about the stage of cancer?
Yes, yes.
Honest to God, I have no idea what file says. And file could say stage grade 4, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
As long as I'm alive and kicking, that's what matters.
Yes,
I really have never paid attention to the stage of cancer I don't even know what people grade of cancer. I have zero idea on that. I don't pay attention. Those are parameters for doctors. Those are not meant for me. Honest to God, I have looked into my file to grade or which stage I'm at. Never.
Okay, ma'am, definitely. Like you kept yourself so positive and so away from all those information so that you only concentrated on getting better.
Yes. Those are parameters written in the file for our doctors, for our treating doctors. On those things, they decide your alignment. I don't understand that. Why would I put my head into something which I don't understand?
Yes.
Right? So,
yes. If you were to say were there any symptoms that caused you to go and get yourself checked up, ma'am?
So actually, before my diagnosis, my own sister got diagnosed with breast cancer. Unfortunately, she could not complete her journey. So when she got diagnosed, I was told to be very vigilant about myself. And that's how I have self-diagnosed myself all 3 times. So this being month of October, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I would like to urge every woman out there who's listening to this, please believe in self-breast examination. It is a great tool to self-diagnose yourself. It's a great tool. I have self-diagnosed myself all 3 times. Breast self-examination is to be done only once a month. It's not supposed to be done every day. So once a month, you can easily have 10 minutes of your personal time for your own body. Please be vigilant about yourself. Please be very, very breast friendly. That's what I tell women. Please be breast friendly because there is no age at which you can get breast cancer. I have seen the youngest patient I have come across at Tata Hospital was an 11-year-old girl. 11-year-old girl. So there's no age. You cannot say, oh, I'm still 30, I'm not going to get breast cancer, or I'm only 40, I'm not going to get breast cancer. So please, every woman out there, I urge them to please do self-breast examination. There are several videos on YouTube from which you can learn. You can get yourself examined by a good clinician once so that you know what is normal breast tissue for you, and then take up breast self-examination month after month. So if you keep doing it month after month, your hand gets trained to find what you want to find. Right? So it's a great diagnostic tool. I have used that tool all 3 times.
Right, ma'am. We cannot stress more on the fact of early detection and self-examination.
Yeah.
This month being breast cancer month,
Yeah,
yes,
early detection is the key to successful treatment. Women do not want to examine themselves. Women don't want to go for mammography. They don't want to go for sonography. They think, what if we find something? I'm like, it will be good if you find something. You will be detected early. Your chances of survival are that much higher. So I mean, that kind of fear, I don't think is beneficial for anyone.
It takes time, ma'am. It takes time to get these things to sink in. Some of us are not, it takes time, I would say.
It takes time, but then it's your body. You need to understand. You need to be vigilant about your body. If your body is telling you something, listen.
Yes. That is for sure. Listen. We have to listen. A lot of us as women, we tend to take care of everybody else. We don't tend to take care of ourselves.
We ignore our own selves.
Yes.
We can do both.
We can do both. Yes, that is the message. We can do both. Yes. Coming to my next question, ma'am. Could you tell us more about your lifestyle before cancer, while the treatment was going on, after cancer, how it changed?
So before cancer, I was living in the US. I had just moved to India a couple of years ago, and I just moved to Bombay. And in the US, my kids were born in the US, and I was living a very healthy, peaceful life. Came down to India after 2 years of coming into India. I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And as I said, how cancer has changed my life. I always wanted to be a medical doctor, but I come from a very orthodox Marwari background. I was not allowed to study to be a doctor. And I always wanted to work in the field of medicine. I always wanted that patient connect. I always wanted to serve. So God gave me this chance to serve. He put me in the hospital setup, right? So he created a little niche for myself. He is the one who's done this. He's created this niche for me. If I didn't go through breast cancer, I don't think I would have been doing what I'm doing today.
That I can serve.
So you were saying, ma'am?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Created this niche for me. I always wanted to serve. I always wanted to be in a hospital setup. So I'm fortunate that God gave me breast cancer so that I could serve.
Right, ma'am. Oh, that is the way you see it. That is such a beautiful thought. That is such a beautiful way of seeing it. Yeah. And you've always wanted to be a doctor as well.
Yes. So I'm not obviously I'm not a doctor, but I get to deal with patients. So.
Yes. Ma'am, if you were to share your words of wisdom, lessons learned as part of this journey to all our viewers out there, caregivers, patients, survivors, doctors, what would you be saying from your side, ma'am?
So first thing I would say is that everyone should be very vigilant about themselves. Any signs or symptoms should not be ignored. We're not only talking about breast cancer here, we're talking about other cancers as well. If there is unexplained weight loss, if there is any difficulty in swallowing, any lump felt anywhere, please go get it checked out. It is very, very important. Never miss out on the signals that the body is giving, because early diagnosis in any disease is always a battle won. So it's very important to be very vigilant about oneself. Second message I would like to give is, please don't be fearful of the disease, of any disease. you have that inherent, your body has that inherent capacity to heal. The body, you have that inner strength. Recognize your inner strength. Use your inner strength to heal yourself. It's important that caregivers also, sometimes caregivers have a very high burnout rate. It is very important that caregivers also take care of themselves while they're taking care of the patients, because I see so many caregivers that they have a very high burnout rate because they are just caring for the patient and not caring for themselves. So for the caregivers, I like to say, please try and take some time out and look out for yourself as well. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. You speak with so much of gratitude, like you found this zeal for life all over again, And would you like to share your thoughts about how you brought about this attitude with yourself?
I have always been a very easy person. I've always been I don't get hassled about things in life. This is my inherent nature. I don't brood over things. I don't get hassled about things in my mind. I don't get hassled and hassle other people around me. So this is an inherent nature that I have. So it's nothing to do with my cancer. It's just, this is how God has made me. So I'm happy with that.
It makes it easier and much more stronger to deal with such a situation, I guess. Yes, definitely. It has always played in your nature, your inherent nature and your character has always played a part in how you went through and got through and became a survivor and where you are right now.
Actually, I don't call myself a survivor. I think I call myself a conqueror.
Oh, wow. A cancer warrior, definitely. Yes. Wow. I mean, a 3-time cancer warrior, I would say. Ma'am, you were telling me you were going for hormone therapy right now. So you still go for your checkups and all that, is that?
So, I give my time to Tata Hospital. So every so often I do get myself checked also. And hormonal therapy is just popping a pill every day. Hormonal therapy would go on for probably the next 5 or 10 years. So yeah, it's just popping a pill every day.
So that is the treatment you are under currently.
That's
right now.
Current treatment, yeah.
Yes, yes. And when was the last time that they told you were cancer free?
I am cancer free. Who
Yes.
can tell me I'm cancer free?
Yes, no, I'm just saying as part of the reports from the doctors.
2018.
Oh, wow. It's been, whoa, that's amazing, ma'am. That really is amazing. And I can imagine by then you would have been at a level where, wow, this you can just bring on anything with me. 3 times, or third time also you got there, and it's amazing. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for talking with us, Mamta ma'am. It's been such a pleasure for me to be talking to you, such an honor, like I said before.
My pleasure.
A lot of people, lot of queries answered there, lot of answers have been given out to people. I'm pretty sure our viewers also would have so many confusions must be cleared by now, ma'am. Thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us, ma'am. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. And please keep on inspiring all of us with the work you're doing, with the person that you are. It has been such a pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you.